What up, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're doing a what's for dinner roundup. I haven't done one of these in a while and I've been missing them because I love the idea of helping out with menu planning because it's something I struggle with myself. So in this video, I have 5 different dinner recipes for you guys. And you guys know I keep it pretty simple, pretty easy to throw together, but don't worry, we are not lacking in the flavor department. So we start off with a garlic steak bite dinner, and we made some crispy potatoes in the air fryer with some delicious sweet glazed carrots and Brussels sprouts. I also made Italian crock pot pork tenderloin with pasta primavera, and then we make a homemade Alfredo sauce for us to dip some leftover breadsticks that we had. I also made French dip sandwiches, which were really fun. We did it in the crock pot, super simple. 2 more crock pot recipes coming at you. We made one of John's favorite meals this year. He will not stop talking about this. We made crock pot meatballs with creamy French dressing and cranberry sauce, and we put them on sliders. And last but not least, I did a ricotta chicken with spaghetti squash and a garlic bread on the side. So I will share a full recipe walkthrough for all of these. John will also be joining me at the end of this video, and we're gonna do a roundup of all 5 recipes, share our honest feedback, let you know which ones we think you need to get on the menu, and give our ratings. So definitely stick around till the end for that. If you happen to be new here, hi, how are you? How's the family? Thank you so much for clicking on that thumbnail and giving me a chance. On this channel, I do a lot of meal inspiration, so if you are looking for some menu planning assistance, please feel free to check out the other videos on the channel. And if you end up enjoying the vibe while you're here, please consider subscribing. It means so much to me. Without further ado, let's dive into the first recipe. Hi friends. Okay, so we are doing like a random assortment of food tonight, and I wanted to just share it with you because I think it's actually gonna turn out pretty good. So we got a butcher box for Christmas from John's sister, which was an awesome gift because there was steak tips in there, which I normally don't cook with. And I thought it would be fun to figure out what to do with them. And I decided I wanted to kind of keep it simple tonight. And so we're just gonna do some steak tips with like butter and garlic. I had made an herb butter for an edible Christmas gifts video, and I still have some left. And I think that's gonna be perfect to cook the steak in. So it's like an herb butter that has rosemary and lemon and garlic in it. And I just think that's gonna be a vibe. But I wanted to get some veggies going with it too. And I think the vegetables are actually what's gonna take the longest for this. So I'm just quartering up some Brussels sprouts. I'm just enough for like a serving for tonight, probably. I'm gonna do carrots too. So I'm probably gonna get like 2 cups of Brussels sprouts, enough for tonight and maybe a little bit for lunch tomorrow. And we're gonna have our baby carrots, or maybe I'll do it like in thirds. I just basically want them to kind of cook as quick as possible because the steak's gonna cook pretty quickly. And then we're gonna be doing some potatoes in the air fryer, and those should only take 15 or so minutes. So I think the vegetables are actually what's gonna take the longest. Carrot overboard. I really should have used a larger cutting board. This is kind of ridiculous that I'm doing this, but everything's fine. All right, so let's go over to the stove. I think that's a good amount of veggies for now. What we're gonna do is get the vegetables in the hot tub here. We're gonna let these boil for probably like 3 to 5 minutes. And then what I'm gonna do is drain them and make kind of like a butter sauce and then let them cook slowly in that after. Next up, we're gonna work on some potatoes as a side. I have a couple tablespoons of butter that I melted, and I'm just gonna drop some potatoes right in there. And I'm just gonna toss it in the butter. And then we're gonna season it. So I have this Kinder's caramelized onion butter seasoning. I am just like in love with this stuff. I wanna put it on everything. It's pretty strong, so I'm not gonna go too insane. And then I'm also gonna just add a little paprika. The caramelized onion butter already has salt in it, so I am not gonna be salting these. Now I'm just gonna get these into an air fryer basket here. And I'm gonna be cooking these for 18 minutes at 400 degrees, and then I'll probably shake it halfway through and see if it needs a little bit more time once that 18 minutes is up, because with potatoes, I feel like you never know. So what I'm doing here is I actually have a brown sugar butter from Trader Joe's. And I'm just gonna get a couple tablespoons of that in there. We're gonna do a splash of balsamic vinegar and then a couple tablespoons of brown sugar. Stir that all up. I'm gonna kick this down to low medium and cover it and just let that cook while I'm working on everything else. Okay, so I got these steak tips. I'm just gonna dump them out onto a paper towel. All right, we're just gonna pat these as dry as we can so it's easier to sear them. And I'm keeping with the same vibe. So we're gonna go with the caramelized onion butter, paprika, and this time I am gonna go with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm gonna get some avocado oil going on the stove right here. And then what I'll do is I'll put the steak down, seasoning side down, and then season the top of it before I flip it. I kick this down to low medium, and I'm gonna get some of that garlic herb butter in here. And we're just gonna let the steak do a little dance with that garlic butter. I have it, like I said, on low medium. So this is just gonna be cooking to combine flavors at this point, and we're waiting on the other elements to finish. And then I can serve this up. Look at how beautiful these air fryer potatoes came out. They are perfection. All right, so we did great with this steak over here. This is all set. We have these beautiful glazed carrots and Brussels sprouts that are all done. So we're just gonna plate everything up and have a delicious dinner. All right, you guys, we are all gonna love this one because it is a dump and go crock pot meal. I am going to toss in half of a jar of some fire roasted diced tomatoes. These are the garlic version, but you could use just regular diced tomatoes or any version of fire roasted. We just like a little zing. I've got about half of an onion that I had diced up for another recipe, so I get to use it in this. And then I'm gonna do like 4 cloves of garlic. I just have my little garlic mincer right here. And then I'm just gonna stir that mixture together. And then I'm just gonna kind of nestle it on the side because we're gonna put pork tenderloin right there. This one also came from the butcher box that my sister-in-law sent us. I cannot express how awesome it is to have that on hand this week because I just am like, oh, that's what's in my fridge. That's what I'm gonna cook. It's awesome. Okay, now I'm just gonna go ahead and dump in the rest of those fire roasted tomatoes right over top here. What I really should have done is season this. That would have been smart, but whatever. We're just gonna go with life. Now here I'm doing a little oregano, and then use whatever your favorite Italian seasoning is, but I picked up this Greek seasoning from Costco or maybe Sam's Club, I can't remember, one of the wholesale clubs. It's got red pepper flakes, orange, dehydrated tomatoes, crushed red pepper, yeast extract, and things like that in there. So just use whatever your favorite Italian seasoning is. Because it didn't have oregano in it, that's why I added oregano. Most of your standard Italian seasoning blends will have oregano already in it, and usually like basil or something like that. I'm also just gonna grab myself some salt. Okay, and that is it. I'm gonna cover this up and cook it on high for about 3 hours. Okay, my friends, it's been a few hours. The crock pot is going with that pork tenderloin. I have leftover Olive Garden style breadsticks, and we were saying that we wanted to dip it in homemade Alfredo sauce. So that is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create a homemade Alfredo sauce in this pan. This one I have getting up to temperature because I'm just gonna throw some spaghetti in there to serve with the pork. And then I'm still trying to decide what I want to do in terms of vegetables because I've been trying to get vegetables in as much as possible. I might end up just doing some steamed veggies. I have a bunch of frozen veggies. I don't know, we're gonna see about that. But I'm gonna get started on Alfredo sauce, and I'm using like really good butter for it It's one of the star ingredients in Alfredo sauce. Normally when I make Alfredo sauce, I add a little bit of cream cheese to bump up the creaminess factor, but I do not have any cream cheese, which is honestly, it should be illegal in this house to not have cream cheese. But I do have a little bit of ricotta cheese left. There's probably like 2 ounces of this left. So I'm just gonna substitute it for that. But if you have cream cheese on hand and you wanna recreate this Alfredo sauce, please use cream cheese. Okay, so that is bubbling over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it salted. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop in spaghetti. I'm cooking an entire box. This is a pound of pasta, but we are going to have leftovers for the kids, so that's why I'm cooking so much. Butter is getting melted real nice, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some garlic in that butter. Now here's the thing. I normally go crazy heavy on garlic. The one place I do not do that is Alfredo sauce because it kind of steals the show. So I'm just doing probably about 2 cloves of garlic. Okay, so this butter and garlic has been hanging out together for a little while. So now what I'm gonna do is just slowly pour in heavy cream and milk. So I did 2 cups heavy cream, 1 cup milk. And you definitely want your heat to be on medium when you cook this, by the way, because you don't want to boil the cream or milk. So we're just gonna let this come up to a very low simmer. And then we'll start adding a few more ingredients. All right, so we got that pasta drained and this is coming up to a nice mild simmer now. So I'm adding in my ricotta cheese, which remember in a normal situation, this would be cream cheese. I still cannot believe I don't have cream cheese. I don't know who I am right now, but it's because I've been doing so much baking lately and I use a lot of cream cheese when I bake. So I have 3 cream cheeses coming to me tomorrow, but when I go to Costco next or a wholesale club, definitely need to pick some of those up. We are now gonna bring in 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese. Next, we're just gonna bring in some seasonings, and this is gonna sound crazy, but we're gonna do salt, black pepper, and a little bit of nutmeg. And don't go too heavy on the salt because the Parmesan cheese and even the garlic is gonna give it that salty flavor, so you don't wanna go too nuts. All right, now I'm gonna reduce this down to low, and I'm gonna continue stirring it, and we're just gonna get it to the point where it's starting to thicken, which it's already kind of doing. We just want it to thicken even more, so we're gonna do that over low heat. Okay friends, I made a decision for the vegetables. So we're gonna do a little avocado oil right in the bottom of the stock pot I used for the pasta. And I have this Primavera Mistura fire roasted vegetable blend. It's got red bell pepper, zucchini, yellow squash, red onion, and broccoli. I'm gonna get some more garlic for myself. We're gonna get that going in the avocado oil and then add in the veggies and then just toss those and let them cook out. Okay, got a couple of cloves of garlic going in there. We'll let that cook for a minute or 2 and then I will add in the vegetables. All right, now what I think I'm gonna do is actually toss the pasta in this veggie mix. I already got rid of about half of this pasta. I saved it in the fridge with a little avocado oil for the kids for tomorrow for food. And so this is probably about half a pound of pasta to probably about 4 cups of the veggie mix. So I kicked this all the way down to low now. John is getting the kids to bed right now, and then I'm gonna plate our food and we can have dinner. Okay guys, now this is what the pork looks like at the end of this party. It is fully cooked. I'm gonna try and slice it if I can, but I don't know if I can. It might need to just be shredded. But we're also gonna save this sauce down here for when we serve it with the pasta. Yeah, no, this is just getting shredded. So I'm just gonna put this shredded pork right back in there and toss it real nice in that sauce. All right, looks mighty delicious if you ask me. All right, I'm gonna combine the efforts now and I'm just gonna put the shredded pork with the sauce directly into our pasta. All right, and then I'm gonna be stirring in a little bit of Parmesan cheese, probably like 1/4 of a cup. All right, next up on the menu are some delicious French dip sandwiches. These I made in the crock pot. They cooked low and slow all day and they came out perfect. So I started up by just taking half a very large onion and slicing that up, and I also minced some garlic and put both of those at the bottom of my crock pot. I then took a beef chuck roast, which I seasoned both front and back with salt, black pepper, and an all-purpose seasoning. I ended up going with our favorite Kinder's cowboy butter for it. I then placed it on top of the garlic and onion we already had in there. In a mixing cup, I whisked together water, an au jus packet, shoyu, aka soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, and balsamic vinegar. I poured this mixture over the beef, and you want to make sure that it's mostly submerged, so I pushed it down a little bit, and then I added 3 bay leaves to that crock pot. I covered this up and let it cook on low for probably about 8 hours, just until the beef started getting fork tender and would be easily shredded. The next step is to remember to take the bay leaves out. So I put 3 in. I had a head count on how many bay leaves I needed to find, and I hunted for the bay leaves and got them out. Shredded up the beef, and I just used my little meat masher for that, and then I let it continue cooking in the juices on that for probably about 20 minutes. While that was going, what I did was preheated my oven to 375 degrees. I split my hoagie rolls in half and brushed the inside with some melted butter. I put the shredded beef down and a few slices of provolone cheese. Those got baked in the oven for probably about 5 to 7 minutes until the cheese melted and the bread got a little toast to it. And then I took the liquid and I put them in little dipping sauce cups on the side, and we dipped them right in there. I was able to take some meal prep containers we had and pack John a lunch for the next day, super easy. What I did was I kept the meat separate from the bread, that way it wouldn't get too soggy for him, and then I stored an au jus on the side, which he of course forgot to bring with him to work, but I thought that was a really cute option for lunch, so in case you're looking for how to use up the leftovers, that was a really good way to make sure it didn't get all soggy the next day. You guys know that when I have a busy season of life, I am leaning on the crock pot, and that's what's happening here, and this was so easy and the payoff was so good. So I started just by taking a can of cranberry sauce and putting it in the bottom of the crock pot, breaking it up a little bit, adding about a cup of creamy French dressing. All of the recipes will be down below with measurements, by the way. A couple tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, cloves of garlic, and then salt and pepper. I whisked that all together until it became a sauce, and then I poured some frozen meatballs in there. I really love the Kirkland brand beef meatballs. They're like Italian style, but I think they work with pretty much any flavor profile. I covered those and cooked them on low for about 4 hours, and I just stirred them every once in a while just to make sure that they all were cooking evenly and were evenly coated. Right before I was ready to serve it, I preheated the oven to 375 degrees. I took some King's Hawaiian sliders and put the bun bottoms in a baking dish. I sprinkled that with cheese, topped it with some of the meatballs, put the tops of the buns on, brushed those with butter, sprinkled it with some everything but the bagel seasoning, and then I baked that for about 5 to 7 minutes until it got a nice little golden tan. We will go over our honest thoughts on all 5 of these recipes at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that. I am such a great friend. Look at me giving you a 4th crockpot easy dump and go meal. I am wonderful. So for this one, it was a crockpot ricotta chicken, and we're going to be making a spaghetti squash on the side. But if you wanted it to be even simpler, you could also just cook up some pasta for yourself. So in the crock pot, I put down some fire roasted tomatoes, garlic, onion, bell pepper, and seasoning. I placed in some chicken tenderloin and I stirred it all up just until the chicken was covered. I cooked that on high this time for about 3 hours, but you could cook it on low for 5 to 6 if you wanted. I took my little meat masher, shredded up the chicken just until it was kind of like in chunk form, and then I stirred in some ricotta cheese and mozzarella cheese and let it cook for probably another half hour or so while the spaghetti squash was getting cooked. For the spaghetti squash, it's super simple. You can actually cook spaghetti squash in the microwave or the air fryer, but in this case I decided I was going to cook it in the oven. So all I did was I split the spaghetti squash down the center. I scooped out the seeds with a spoon. I sprayed it down with some avocado oil, put some seasoning on there. I did salt, pepper, and a zesty Italian blend. I turned it seed side down on a baking sheet, and I want to say I cooked that one about 40 minutes in a 400-degree oven, just until it gets to the point where you can shred the spaghetti squash up and have it look like pasta. Then what I did was I made some garlic bread. So I took some sourdough bread that we had in the freezer that I had thawed, and I brushed it with some of the Toom garlic sauce from Costco that we are completely obsessed with, and then sprinkled some zesty Italian seasoning on that. Shredded cheese went on top of there, and then I baked that in the oven for, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, something like that, in the same oven that I was cooking the spaghetti squash in. Once the spaghetti squash was done, I shredded that up super easy with a fork, and then I put that on the plate with the chicken topping on it, and then I served the bread on the side. We ended up taste testing this one, so I will share that with you, and then we will do a roundup on all of the recipes and share our honest thoughts and feedback for all of them. You guys, we got Italian night here. We've had a kind of a good amount of Italian food this week, I feel like.
We always eat a good amount of Italian food.
That's true. Also, if you hear crunching, that is Stella. She's also doing an independent taste test for corporate. She has the Rachel Ray Nutrish Prime line.
I would say it's a high rating because she's been eating it for like 5 years.
Yes, so I think corporate has sufficient feedback on it, but for some reason they keep requesting more, so she's crunching in the background. I apologize. We are gonna taste test this bad boy, and then we're gonna go over all of the other recipes that we didn't get to taste test live, but we're gonna give our thoughts, feedback, ratings, all that good stuff. I wanna start with the bread. Because
what's going on here? Just
what's going on here, John, is excellence, okay?
I mean, clearly.
So it was chicken tenderloin in fire roasted tomatoes, diced peppers, onions, garlic.
I'm here for it.
Yes. And then you stir in some ricotta and mozzarella cheese.
Ooh, I'm definitely
And so it kind of turns it into like a creamy amazingness. And then you put the spaghetti squash down, plop that on top, sprinkle a little Parmesan. Okay. So yeah, I want to try this bread. It's a sourdough bread. That Toom garlic spread from Costco. It's so good, and it's seriously so versatile. I bought it thinking I would just do something like this with it. I mixed it in Lipton onion dip.
Oh.
I spread it on frozen pizza. We take like a pastry brush and we put it on frozen pizza.
Boost it up a notch.
Oh, it's so good. I can't think of anything else right now, but I promise there's many versatile options for that. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in and try the main event. You know?
The main event.
It's hot.
It's the fun.
I'm warning you now, John, it's hot, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if the steam would give it away.
It's actually not as hot as I thought it was gonna be. 2 bites. When I do warn you, of course, it's not that hot. I'm not even gonna try and hide it. Not even gonna try and hide it. 2 bites, minimum. Corporate has changed their rules.
That was fantastic.
It doesn't look like much, to be honest. Like when I was plating it, I was like, this doesn't look, like it doesn't look that appetizing, but it is that appetizing.
So good.
Like, you know when you make like a pink sauce and it's like marinara and Alfredo together? It's kind of like that, but also kind of like lasagna.
To me, it's like cracked chicken meets with marinara.
It's like the Italian version of cracked chicken.
Bam.
Yeah,
Bam,
you
bam.
are 100% correct. And what's funny with you
So
saying
good.
that is that truly is really what it is, because like in cracked chicken you use cream cheese. So we went the Italian version and did ricotta.
Boom. See,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
here.
You,
I'm getting all
yeah,
day.
John, that's right.
Boom, get
It's
it.
like the Italian cracked chicken, okay? I love spaghetti squash.
It's so good.
It's so good. But I am glad we did the garlic bread on the side. I'm giving this overall an 8.5.
I'm there.
You're there at an 8.5.
I'm there.
We're tying it up. Okay, so now let's go back through with our friends the other things that we ate earlier this week. I want to remind you, because I know you probably are like, what is even in this video, right? So the first one you probably forget were those steak bites.
I did forget about those.
I knew you were gonna forget about them because, you know, 4 days ago feels like a lifetime ago. To me, it was almost like a condensed beef stew. Like it reminded me of like beef stew without all the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was so easy to throw that meal together. And I was completely blown away by those potatoes. The air fryer potatoes, it was so simple, but they were so like crispy on the outside and like nice and tender on the inside. They were so good. That meal, honestly, I would give that a 9. Oh, and don't forget those vegetables.
Those vegetables.
Remember I had the Brussels sprouts and the carrots with the glaze?
So now I'm remembering very vividly. Those vegetables were actually more of a star than the potatoes.
For a what's for dinner video, that was a completely balanced, like that whole thing just needs to be recreated.
9.
You're going 9?
I'm going.
What did I say? Did I say 9?
I don't think you said anything.
I think I was gonna go 9.
I'm going 9.
I'm even like borderline 9.5 to be honest.
Wow.
And I think also, and this is, they don't know who I am, so this is not sponsored whatsoever, but the Butcher Box quality, I am highly impressed. Highly impressed. I am actually considering getting us like every other month subscription with our own money. This is not like a lead into something, okay? I was truly blown away by the quality of everything that I cooked so far from that Butcher Box. I was always hesitant because it's pretty pricey, but the quality I think is really worth it. And what I think I'm gonna do is order it every other month and then do the cuts of meat that I don't usually get at like Wholesale Club. That way it's like a fun way to mix things up, you know? But we'll see. I set up a cart, but I have not committed yet, so we'll see what happens. No commitment yet, but we'll see. If you guys are Butcher Box fans, talk me into it down below, or talk me out of it if you're not a fan. Okay, so the next one was in fact the Italian crockpot pork, which I don't know why I have never thought to go with an Italian vibe for a pork in a crockpot. Hello. So that one, we ended up serving it over spaghetti, keeping it pretty simple. And I did almost like a pasta primavera on the stove, if you remember, then served the pork over it. I feel like I had something else on the side that I'm forgetting, but whatever. Oh, I know. We did the Alfredo sauce. We're a mess.
We are winning.
We are winning. I did the Alfredo sauce. My dad had given me an Alfredo sauce recipe like forever ago, and it rivals, or probably is even better than the Olive Garden version of Alfredo. And we had leftover Olive Garden breadsticks because we did the copycat recipes video, which I will have linked down below for you. And we recreated the Olive Garden breadsticks. And we had like jarred Alfredo sauce to dip the breadsticks in. And we felt a lack there. So the next night for this dinner, I made some Alfredo sauce to go with it and served the reheated breadsticks, which by the way, those breadsticks reheated for like 4 days straight in the air fryer absolutely beautifully. That dinner, I would say the Alfredo sauce is a 9 for me. So like if you're just trying to get an Alfredo sauce recipe, that's a 9. The pork vegetable primavera situation with the pasta, I'd say like a 7.
Oh wow, I was gonna say the same thing.
Were you really?
Yes.
Because I wasn't like blown away by it, but what I did like was the primavera vegetable mix from Costco has a very, very good flavor to it.
Yeah.
It almost has like a char flavor, which is weird because I usually do not like that, but something about it is like that fire roasted just gives it like an extra depth of flavor. So that was actually what stood out to me. The pork, I think I'm just not that big of a shredded pork fan. We were going on a path where we were thinking we were pork fans.
We were on we are obsessed with pork, but this one kind of brought us back.
Yeah, it brought us back a little bit because it's just like, I just don't think shredded things are meant to be with pasta maybe. Because it just gets all tangled up and like lost a little bit. So flavor wise, it was a 7. Flavor wise, it was really good. Probably like an 8. But I think the texture combo and everything brought it down for me. It just was like the next day when I went to have the leftovers, I wasn't like that jazzed about it. I was just kind of like, okay. Anyways, that's the feedback on that one. Now for Christmas Day dinner, I was overcomplicating things so much. And I was trying to menu plan just for the two of us. It's difficult because I don't want to like overcook on like the fancier things because we, whatever. Anyways, so I was like looking up and I was thinking maybe I'll do like an Italian theme for Christmas dinner. And I was looking up things that I haven't tried before, which always makes me a little nervous because you don't want to mess it up on a holiday. And John said, you know what I've just been wanting is French dip sandwiches, which was funny because I was thinking about doing French dip just on a different day for this video. And I was like, well, there you go. Let's just have that for Christmas dinner. And I would say those ones, probably a 9 for me. Yeah.
Those were a 9. I had it for lunch at work the following day, and it reheated fantastic.
And he even had you forgot to take the au jus dipping sauce with you.
True.
And you said it was still good even without it.
Without it.
Because it's cooked in that au jus all day.
Yeah.
I will say too, when I had leftovers the next day, I put a little mayonnaise on it, which I know sounds weird, but it ended up being really good. I know some people put horseradish on theirs. I don't like horseradish, so that won't be happening.
Negative.
But the mayo, I feel like, is my tame down version of that. Next one that John was so excited to talk about at the beginning. Our children were so obsessed with it, and it was so simple. It was actually a recommendation from one of you guys like a long time ago. Someone had recommended mixing together French dressing and cranberry sauce with meatballs. So I just tossed that in the crock pot.
I'm salivating thinking about it.
And I ended up using creamy French dressing because I know that's John's favorite. He prefers the creamy French dressing. It ended up being so good. John was obsessed with them. I was obsessed with them, but I ended up only getting 2 of the sliders.
What happened?
I don't know how that happened.
What
had happened was Santa Claus came back on the 26th overnight and said, I am so hungry from all of that work that I just did. And I heard that Kate made some meatball sliders. That's what happened. So I ended up only having 2 of the 10 that you guys saw, but there was leftover meatballs and we ended up giving those to our kids and they like went crazy for them. They loved them. For me, I'm going 9 on those too.
I'm going 10.
You're going 10?
That
You and sliders, bro. You love sliders.
Listen, I'm a simple slider guy. But that combination of the French dressing and the cranberry, for some reason with the cheese on the bread, oh my gosh.
And I love sliders when you brush the butter on it and then put the everything but the bagel seasoning on it.
So good.
There's something about that just makes them go up a level. So I am shocked that that's a 10. That's crazy.
And you know what the best part is they weren't even like homemade meatballs.
No, they were just Costco meatballs. But
it was just...
I'm telling you, those Costco ones never let me down. Like people look down on like frozen foods and stuff, but those ones, they're good.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us back around to the one we just tried and we rated that, right? What would you say your favorite dish was?
I mean, come on.
The meatballs.
Come on.
I can't believe those impressed you that much.
The meatballs didn't impress me that much. The sauce
is really. I think my favorite one was the steak bites. I think because steak to me now, I don't eat it a lot, so it's kind of turned into like special. You know what I mean?
It's
like
indulgent.
Yeah, it's like a treat. So I think that's why anytime I have steak, if it's done right. Because Lord, remember that Aldi steak and the Sam's Club steak?
Oh gosh, that was so bad.
They were awful. Apparently I'm a snob when it comes to the steaks.
You're not a snob. We have standards.
We have standards.
Okay.
So we're going to get all that feedback over to corporate. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for all of Vlogmas. I went ahead and made a playlist for Vlogmas.
Oh, wow.
So if you do want to watch the Vlogmas series, you can just go down to the Vlogmas playlist.
That's fun.
And you can watch all of them. Yeah. I hope we delivered whatever you needed when you clicked on that thumbnail. And I hope you have a magical day. Bye.